You know what's harder to figure out than what not to do with duck lips is what to do when the song doesn't match duck lips. Like, there's no reason for you to have duck lips right now. So let us know how y'all like our new music.
Well, we're trying out a new theme
I
song
like
today,
it.
y'all.
What'd you
I
think?
liked it. I felt like I kind of did want your voice coming
Mhm,
over with
mhm.
like when we were playing with it
Yeah.
when we said hello
Mhm,
about the take a deep breath, like
mhm.
take a moment to chill. Like
Yeah,
it's got a different vibe than our old theme song, but I like it.
I
Like,
do like it.
right? I
Yeah,
feel like
welcome
it
to
is
People
an
First Time.
invitation to pause,
And that's what we're here for. That is why we
right?
hold this space so we could talk about the wellness, how we do it.
Right? How are you, my friend?
Hmm. Grateful. I know I say that a lot, but we were talking about it before the show when life is lifing, it's like, yes, and I'm grateful,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. What about you?
Mm-hmm. Same, same. I
Yeah.
am coming in today from Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
Pennsylvania. I am here prepping for a retreat with one of our women connected in wisdom, Sheila K.
Yeah,
Collins.
the
She's
award winning.
the award winning. She's
Yeah.
doing her first Art of Grieving retreat, and I'm
Mhm.
coming to be a part of that with her. And
Beautiful.
so I'm excited. We go to a really cool place tomorrow,
Yeah.
and we're in the woods,
Mhm.
and we are making art and doing interplay, and it's going to be awesome.
Beautiful.
So I'm grateful, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful to be here with you. And
Yeah.
episode 202.
I know, I
What?
know.
Mm,
It's gonna
so
be good.
fun.
It's gonna be good. You ready to do our intro so we can start our conversation since we have a little less time with you today?
Right? Let's do it. I am on my laptop today, so I'm going to do my best to be good tech-wise.
Yeah, got you. Got you. Hey y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate. I am an author, a publisher, I am a dancing social worker, and I am excited to be here.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business and relationships. And what are we doing? How are
Right,
we doing it?
right. Through the
And
seasons,
wellness,
through the
right?
seasons, through the temperature changes. Yeah, all of it.
Right? Yeah. I think it's during these times of challenge, right? If you're paying attention in the United States, a lot of challenges going on.
Mhm.
And a lot of people that are struggling and
Yeah.
prices going up. I don't know about you in New Jersey, but here in Atlanta, like
Mm.
our grocery bills are like, what?
Wow. Yeah. And like New Jersey has been amazing, especially being in the Garden State. I see the difference in the prices of produce and things like that. But
Mm,
definitely just came from Atlanta. So yeah, been holding it down, right?
right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how do we do this in balance and wellness and
Mhm.
the 8 dimensions of wellness? And
Yeah.
I think that's. I'm excited to have our conversation today, and I am excited to have our guest and she's got incredible expertise that we're going to
Yeah.
lift up and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like today, y'all, we're talking about environmental wellness and owning your power. And when I think about that, I think about when I realized I was consistently giving my power away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing the stories of my exes and I'm like trying to not get worked up telling these stories. It's like, why are you so upset still? What part of it
Mm.
did you play? And so that's when I got to the part of um, why get mad when other people cheat on me when I cheat on myself? And
Mm.
not to ever justify it, right? But to like give that stark difference. Like there's a lot of stuff I said I was gonna do that I don't do. And when I continue to show up for somebody else and I'm not showing up for myself, I'm giving away my power,
Mm.
when I'm spending money and helping people and they didn't even ask you to be that nice. You're just giving because you think they need it and you There could be a system for that, you know what I mean? And so that's when I got more intentional about owning my power and, like Jenna Banks says, keeping that power tank full.
Right.
Mhm.
Should you want me to read the definition of environmental wellness for
Yes,
our folks and
please.
how? Yeah.
I was
So,
just
Women
thinking about
Connecting Wisdom, we talk about environmental wellness is supporting your good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that enhance well being. It promotes interaction with nature and also creating enjoyable personal environments, both in and out of your workspace. This includes knowing the types of environments you thrive in and are having. Ooh, boy, my tongue's not working today. This includes knowing the types of environments you thrive in and having an intentional relationship with these places, including the earth.
mhm. So important. And so we talk about owning your power and how, um, do you know, crazy the world is and things that are going on in the world. I just think about what we talk about a lot is the non-negotiables. Before anything else happens, before anybody either does what they said they were going to do or doesn't do what they said they were going to do, did I stretch this morning? Did I do
Mhm.
my devotion? Did I take my quiet time? And I've been playing with putting my gratitude at the end of the day. But the end of the day, writing stuff is not happening. You know what I mean? So I think I need to do it in the morning like I was doing it because it has
I
yet
kind
to
of
make the
like to do
list.
it both, honestly. That way, I have
What Sula
a
says.
twice. What would be
What?
the odds? I have twice, double the odds of getting it
Okay.
done.
Okay.
So,
And see, and then that's the thing though, because if I plan my stuff so that it might not happen, now a lot of stuff that's planned goes on the might list.
right,
I gotta like, when is it gonna be? And then if I
right,
need to pick it up and put it down, I've been working on more firmly putting it down. Okay, if it's not Friday, when are we gonna touch bases? When
right,
is this actually gonna happen? Um, but like Sula said in the book, she says, do what works. And if
right.
I'm not making it to the night, let's go ahead and put it back on the morning until you can be consistent with that nighttime follow up. Um, but that's
I like to
what I
add
do.
my gratitudes to my journal pages, my
Mhm,
morning pages in the
mhm.
morning. And then I like to finish the night with at least three gratitudes. So
Yeah,
I'm looking for the good, right?
yeah, yeah.
Not, not discounting that there's bad or that there's
Difficult
real
things,
things that are
challenges.
happening that we need to address. But
Mhm.
I also know if I'm looking for the good and I'm looking for the beauty, anybody that's seen how many photos I have on my phone knows that's one of my practices.
Yes. Yeah, and it does make a difference, and that's something else I wanna add because 'cause I've been reviewing my list lately, like, I wanna put the wins back on the list. Like, what are the wins for
Hmm.
this week? And again, not that we're not paying attention to everything that's going on, but when we intentionally record the wins, it puts it higher on the memory list because we know that we naturally remember the difficult things and the challenges too.
I was talking with a client this week
Mm,
that was struggling a little.
yeah.
A lot of folks are, and they were struggling to remember the things that they'd accomplished in their life, right?
Mhm,
Which I think everybody goes through waves of that,
mhm,
depending on what's going on in the bigger world. And
mhm.
we're our guests today when we come up, they were talking about an old school teacher, which I was so excited about. And one of
Yeah.
my old school teachers was Jack Canfield and
Mm,
his principles of success. And one of the things he says at the very beginning is write 100 successes in your life.
mm,
Just write, and it could be from as far back as you remember, and from teeny tiny to big ones.
mhm,
So when you have those days, or when you have those challenges, or you think, "Why am I doing this?"
mhm,
or not feeling that great about yourself, you can flip open this journal, or for me, it was a yellow notepad, and I just wrote and
mm,
think about that first ribbon you ever got, right? I think
mhm,
about somebody brought this up the other day. You remember those ribbons that we used to pin on? And Shannon, you're much younger than I am, so maybe
mm,
you didn't have these. But when we were in elementary school, like if
mhm,
you would recite the poem or UIL competition, or you would get
mhm,
these, they were these little ribbons, and then they would
mhm,
have probably what is vinyl, but it would have the
mhm.
what you got the award for, right?
Okay.
And you would
Mhm,
pin it with a stick pin on your
mm,
shirt.
mhm,
And I used to have drawers of those, right? For the different things. And
Wow.
I just remember the excitement in elementary school, like getting, and some of it was for, I don't know. I mean, people call them now participation, but it wasn't that. It was for like
Mhm.
citizenship or for
Mhm.
being kind, which I
Certain
think is a little bit
accolades.
a word.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the right word for it, accolades. But
I got
it
you.
did create for me an environment of learning, an
Mhm.
environment of curiosity, and
Mm.
wanting to. I'm a sucker for stickers or a good
Yeah.
ribbon. Like,
I have one of your stickers right here. It's on my laptop. Yep, you gave it to me for my birthday. Yeah, I could see that.
I love it. Well, I would love for you to read our guest bio and get her up here so we can have this conversation about environmental wellness. And
Okay,
you
let's do
ready?
it. Yes, I am. Okay, y'all. Sabine Gedeon is a transformative force in the world of leadership and personal development. As an accomplished author, speaker, and executive career and leadership strategist, Sabine leverages nearly 20 years of experience to guide clients in both startups and Fortune 500 companies. She specializes in supporting leaders during pivotal seasons of transition, helping them embrace a growth mindset, cultivate meaningful connections, and lead purposeful lives. What sets Sabine apart is her unwavering commitment to growth and transformation, which goes beyond mere words. It's a lived reality. Her work has equipped and empowered leaders at all levels with tailored programs and solutions that address their most pressing leadership and talent development challenges. Sabine is an accomplished author of influential works, including Leadership, Reloaded and Transformed, The Journey to Becoming. She also holds a master's degree in management and organizational leadership and is a professional certified coach accredited by the International Coaching Federation. Help us welcome to the stage Sabine Gideon. Hi,
Welcome,
Sabine.
welcome.
Hi. Hello, hello, hello. So excited to be
Hi.
here.
And you
Good. Thank
have
you
a
so
second
much.
and third book that I don't think we mentioned in the bio
No.
because we did our coffee and chat so long ago. So you want to tell
Mhm.
folks about those books?
Sure. So you did mention Transformed, The
Yes.
Journey to Becoming. That was my first book.
Mhm.
It was supposed to be a book on, transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship. It turned into a mini memoir
Mm.
with the backdrop of the caterpillar turning into a butterfly
Mm.
as I shared my stories. And then the second book, Leadership Reloaded, was done shortly. I guess it was 2023. So post pandemic,
Right.
but really talking about the challenges that I was seeing in the workforce as it related to women, centered around diversity and certainly the next generation coming into the workforce. So it was more on the professional leadership side, but really more still around centered personal development and helping employees have more agency around how they navigate their careers and supporting leaders to help them do that. And then the third book is Attribute of Ascent one. I had to look back at it. I did a chapter in an anthology, and this is more spiritually based. And my chapter is centered around millennials and how millennials were navigating. And I feel like we were the forerunners, if you will, in terms of this next wave of whatever humanity is looking like. I feel like I think they called me elder millennial. I'm technically an elder millennial. The disrespect. I've heard geriatric millennial, and I'm refused to do that
Wow.
one. Right. So if you look at it, we are the bridge between basically the old
Mhm.
and the new. Let's put
That
it
makes
that
sense.
way.
Right, right.
And so just speaking to the role that we have to play and how we have been opening new doors and pioneering. So those are the three books.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely.
So important. So, when you think about startups and Fortune 500 companies, what's similar in those two types of companies that people who are coming out of being an employee into entrepreneurship may not realize? They may feel like it's such a far road to build the company that they want, but a lot of things are transferable. What would you say?
Yeah. First and foremost, the biggest similarity is they all think that their business is unique.
Mhm.
regardless of whether the organization has been around for 80 years and it's a Fortune 50 or whatever, or it's a startup. Everyone believes that their business is unique, but we know there's a blueprint. And
Right.
every Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company started as a startup at some point, right? It's just a matter of building the systems, building the people. I think what the biggest difference is, and what I'm seeing now with entrepreneurs and startups is, and this may have been the case back in the days of Rockefeller and Ford and, Mr. Penny and all of them who have these, gigantic corporations now. But there's a level of passion in terms of being able to make a change in the world. And again, not to take away from what the pioneers did. Where I'm seeing now is there's so much more information now. There's so much more that we have accessible to. I was listening to this thing earlier this week, and it was Bob Proctor was talking, right? And he was just like, there's more power in our cell phones than there was in the rocket that sent the initial group to the moon, right?
Wow.
So when you think about it, just from that perspective, like what we have access to, what we know, how we've expanded as humanity, the barrier to entry to start a business now is so low, right? Like you can literally get on a kit and build up a website or a landing page, and boom, you're in business.
You can literally create it in your pocket.
In your
Right?
pocket, exactly. With AI now, all of the tools. I was just doing a workshop and just teaching people the many tools where if you don't have headshots, that's okay. Get your selfies, go on this site, and it'll build out these beautiful portraits for you, basically. And so I think today, because we have so much access, it is easier for us to start businesses. It is easier for us to get into the market, and it's easier for us to step into things that are going to make change and impact that happen more immediate than, let's just say, 60 years ago when they didn't have social media. They didn't have the internet to get their word out. And so it took a lot longer.
I think that's really exciting, Sabine. And I think the other thing, though, that comes up for me is because it's so accessible to people, there's billions of businesses and startups and people. So how do you help your clients to stand out? Like, what practical advice do you give them as one tiny fish swimming in a big ocean? How do you sparkle?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think if you're someone, and I'm referencing based on my experience coming out of corporate, it was easy to be like, oh my gosh, there's so many people, so many coaches, so many people doing this, right? And so the natural tendency is we want to do the safe thing. So we start imitating in a way, right? What is she doing? Oh, she has these brand colors. I got to get brand colors. Oh, she's doing lives. I got to do lives, right? And so our initial step out usually looks like a mishmash of what 5 other people are doing, if not more. And I think what I've learned through my process is the more I got confident in this version of me, this identity of me, the more it was easy for me to be like, nope, I don't like that. Nope, I don't want to do that. Nope, that doesn't fit for me. And so I think for someone who is, depending on if they're early stages and trying to figure out, like, how do I make a name for myself? First and foremost, I say try all the things. Try all the things that everyone is doing. That's the only way we learn, right? When we were little kids, we didn't know that we didn't like math, we didn't like science, until we had to do it, right? And so try all the things and see what resonates with you. And when you find the thing that resonates with you, hold on to that. Even if there are, million executive coaches or business coaches, none of them are you. None of them are bringing the stories that you bring. None of them are bringing the experience that you bring. None of them are bringing the lived experience that you're bringing. And that's what's going to stand out. I was sharing before in the green room, the challenge that I'm doing, that came out of necessity. And in my mind, I was just like, oh, everybody knows this. Like, this is easy. Like, this is not a thing. Until I did the math, I was just like, well, people keep asking me about it. There's a reason why people keep asking me about it. And then I chose to just lean into it, and it's making an impact. But had I just stayed in that place like, oh, well, networking is easy, like anyone can learn networking or anyone can figure it out, I would be losing out on an opportunity to stand in a space and filling a gap that exists that I didn't even realize existed.
Will you tell our listeners about your current challenge? Because it sounds awesome.
Sure. So it's called the Cultivating Connections Challenge, and it's really centered around how do we leverage the connections that we have, so our network, to build that social capital. So I'm a big believer. I subscribe to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, specifically around deposits and withdrawals. So if you think about it from the perspective of most of the time when people are reaching out to their network, it's because they need something. They're out of work, they're trying to get referrals, whatever the case may be. And that's where it falls flat. And that's why networking has such a bad name. But if you're strategic and you're proactive and you're building these relationships over time, you're making deposits over time, your equity, if you will, or the social capital that you'll have access to when you need something big or when you need anything is already built in. And I think just in this post COVID era that we're in, we're seeing more and more people want community, people want connection, they want authenticity. And we're going back to a place, maybe not, it's not necessarily about being cliquey, but it's about being communal in a way that previous generations had been that we lost at some point. And so it's really just who's in your backyard and build those relationships in your backyard. Of course, you can extend, but to your point, for someone starting a business, your first few clients are going to be from your network. It's not going to be a stranger, right? So,
Right.
What is it?
How many were our first? How many episodes, Shannon? Like our first couple of seasons were people we knew and loved. I mean, but we really know some awesome people, so
Yeah.
it was not
Yeah.
it was really cool. But it's true, right? When you start something, it's your people that show up.
Yeah.
And so many people don't even, I've talked to people like their family doesn't even know what they do, right? So think about who knows, likes, and trusts you. Like it's your family. They may not be your clients, but they can certainly be the one helping you get the word out.
Well, and I always think about that old school rule of the 3-foot rule. I can't remember who I learned it from years ago, but it was talking about most of the time we don't tell the people that we could touch about what we're up to, right? We think we have to tell the other people. But if we're talking to and being in relationship with the people that are within 3 feet of us, you know, that we meet at the grocery store, that we're at the park with, that we are our neighbors and our friends, it's powerful to build those relationships for so many reasons.
Absolutely.
So when you think about relationships and owning your power, Sabine, what comes to your mind with the work that you do?
Yeah. And so as you were talking earlier, what came up for me is, you know, when I think about environmental, right, like that is, and I used to refer to it as territorial because I only had 7 dimensions until I came across you. I was like, oh, there's another one. So thank you. And I've shifted my language from territorial to environmental because I feel like that's so much more expansive. And owning your power, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? There's so much happening, right? And when we are tapped into our senses, see, taste, touch, smell, feel, I think is the 5th one, right? Like so much information is coming at us and so much is happening. Owning your power is to be able to stand in all of that, feel all of that, experience all of that. The vision that I have is like being in the middle of like a twister or tornado, right? Like everything is spinning around you and it looks like chaos. It feels like chaos. It may even feel scary. You don't know what's on the other side of it. But to be able to stand in that and still be clear on, I know who I am. I know that right now I may not have control over what's happening outside of me, but I will make it through this, right? It's a mindset. Owning your power is a mindset. It's an inner belief and conviction in who you are. And it's almost tapping into that memory of, I've been through hard things before, right? I know what challenge looks like. I'll get through this. There's another side. At some point, the storm is going to stop and it'll be clear enough for me to move on to the other side.
I love that. And what I will say to the people pleaser, like the perfectionist listening too, right, is also because you can believe all those things and own your power and still give it away.
Yeah.
Right. So also you holding on to your stuff and being able to support the people who might need help while not losing yourself. Hold on to yourself too, So um I love what you said about the storm. That's how I felt as a kitchen manager in the restaurant. All this stuff is going on, but I got you guys. We'll make it through, like
Mhm.
superheroes at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
do
Can I
you
just comment on the people pleaser side? Because I've been
Yes,
having
thank
this
you.
conversation and I just
Really?
went through my own personal thing. So I'm speaking from it from like the standpoint of like codependency, right? And
Okay.
learning to stand on your own. And I
Mhm.
think part of what while people pleasing is a bad rap because that is the behavior that we default to and it's usually to the detriment of us, but
Mhm.
underneath that people pleasing, it's usually a very deeply empathetic person.
Mhm.
It's usually a deeply compassionate person who,
Mhm.
if you think about the empathy and the compassion as a superpower, who
Mhm.
just never learned how to use their superpower, but
Mhm.
others around them saw the superpower and used it to manipulate in some ways, right? Or
Mhm.
didn't respect it, didn't use the honor. So I feel
Mm.
like as we're thinking about, for those who are people pleaser, I like to believe I'm a recovering people pleaser, although
Stand in agreement.
I regress sometimes.
Mhm. Mhm.
What I've come to realize and accept is that my empathy is a gift. It's a powerful gift that I have.
Mhm.
And while I can look at other people and say, "Oh, this is how you took advantage," I have a responsibility and an
Mhm.
accountability to manage that gift in a way
Mhm.
that supports me first
Mhm.
and then others. And I think when I flip that switch to say, well, Sabine, you're the one with the superpower.
Yeah.
Why aren't you managing it?
Mhm.
Right? Not from a condemning way or beating myself up, but just an awakening of you have a superpower that you're not managing. What do you want to do with that? It completely shifted. Empathy goes to me first.
Mhm.
And then out of my overflow, I can share with others. But until you see your behavior as not a bad thing or not something that people are doing to you, but that this is an untapped or unmanaged gift, then it just becomes something that is used against you. And quite honestly, for even us who are really great people pleasers, we're enabling. And so we're not technically helping as much as
That's what
we
I'm
think
saying.
we'd like to think we are.
Mm. Nope. And then it's crazy because like you said, the catch-22 is now I gave my power away. You are and your development is undercut. So
Mhm.
nobody's winning. Now it's lose-lose, and we're getting nope. And so I love conversations like this, because I feel like even though we may be used to saying a certain thing and we might struggle with feeling guilty about it, it also feels kind of good to I can breathe first. I can
Mhm.
Yes, you can, it's okay, and they will also be taken care of, it won't fall apart, the world won't burn, the world won't stop spinning, the building won't burn down, and you'll go back stronger, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm so excited to be on episode 202 and be continuing to lift up resources like yours, because I've been thinking a lot about it with the DEI, um updates, let's say that updates this year, and it reminds me of a conversation I had with one of my professors when I was in undergrad, and I graduated 10 years ago now, right? So I think about where I would have been in my career because I said, Professor Benjamin, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to go to the medical field? Do I want to go to law? Do I want to go to education? Do I want to go to hospitality? Like, what do I do? He was like, well, you can work inside the system or outside of it. And I
Mm.
think about where I would have been in education at 10 years, where I would have been in the medical field at 10 years. And because of what y'all said, I got to move out of my office. Like, what is going on? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, what else comes up for you when you think about, um, owning your power and that I wanted to talk to the woman who like people forget that she may struggle with owning it. You know what I mean? Because of
Mhm.
where she is. Like, how do you think about supporting people at that level?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The strong friend, right? The one
Yeah.
that people just assume have everything together and they don't need anything. And quite frankly, they've been conditioned. I see it, and I'm speaking about me clearly.
Mm. I'm a
But
strong
it
friend too.
becomes
Yes,
this
yes.
this conditioning that you have to figure it out. And I think that goes back to, you know what, we don't spend enough time, like you were talking about education, right? Like
Yeah.
all the education, all the certifications, yep, got them, done it.
Yeah.
We don't spend enough time about learning about us, right? We don't spend enough time learning about our superpowers, our abilities, right? We know the things that get us clients. We know the things that get us pay raises, right? We know the tactical things like that, those external things. But what are those things about us that people come to us that we don't pay attention to? So I do this exercise with a value assessment, right? And so your skills, your knowledge, your opportunities, and your strengths. And oftentimes, especially women, we discount the things that we do really well because again, it's the assumption that everyone does this, or I just figured it out, so I figure everyone else knows it, right? And so the I call it a brag book, but I love the way that you describe that list of 100 things. Sometimes we uncover what we're really good at when we look at those wins. I used to have clients do 25, so 100 is beast mode. But I call it that brag book, and it's just it does two things. When you're writing it down, it gets you back into that frequency and that reminder in that state of how you felt when you had that win or when you had that experience, right? So gratitude does the same thing. All of these things are just about lifting our capacity. Two, there are clues. There are often clues. The things that you've had the multiple wins in, you'll probably see a theme of, oh, that was for this. Oh, and this was for this. Oh, and that was for this, right? And so as you're looking at these themes, you start to notice a pattern, or you're likely to notice a pattern that, wait a minute, I'm really good at that. Or why did I stop doing that? That might be something there. That might be a business opportunity, or that might be a business idea or a new hobby or whatever the case may be. And then three, having that brag book so that you can go back and look at it on those days where you don't feel like your superpowers are working, or you don't feel like, or life is lifing, like we said before, and you need that boost. And so I think we've been so conditioned to do the thing, check it off the box, go to the next thing, or climb the next mountain, that we forget that there's that space to pause, to breathe, to reflect, to sit in who we are, what we've done, sit in the power that we've gained in that time before we jump to that next one. So hopefully that was helpful.
Oh, I love that. Like everything you said, I'm over here looking up resources that we can put for our show notes for our people. Do you know, Sabine, you were talking about values. Have you heard of the values deck?
Yes.
Okay. Because I love it. I use it with my clients, and I took it on vacation with my husband and I, which was hysterical because we've been married 31 years. And he got so nervous because he's like, is this a test? I'm like, there's no right or wrong answers. And he was like, but what if I don't get it right? It's like, babe, I just am curious, like, where are you in this moment? It was a big birthday milestone for him. And I was like, let's look at, like, what's really vibing for you? Because in that deck, it's what do you value the most? What do you value some of the times? And what do you not value at all? And so it was fun. It was a fun exercise. And it was fun to revisit even as a couple, like not on business, not on anything, just where are we in this moment together, individually and together? What are we valuing at this stage in life? And I also wanted to circle back to when you were talking about codependency, because you and I have been throwing out resources that we get each other excited with. Melody Beatty's Codependency No More, old school. But one of the things that I had on the back of my toilet, because that's where all the good books lived, because that was the only moment I could read, right, when my kids were young, was The Language of Letting Go. It was a daily reader about basically letting go of codependency, of people pleasing, of it's still one of my favorites, that if I find myself slipping, or I find myself, wait, why'd you do that? Right? That's an old pattern of behavior. That's not how you've been walking in the world. I pull that out and just remind myself, because I found it to be an incredible tool to really be centered about our superpowers for ourselves. I love the way you frame that up. That
Yeah.
when people are people pleasers or codependent, they tend to be really empathetic and compassionate folks.
Yeah.
So I love
It
that.
reminds me of if you have you watched Captain Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if I've
Um,
seen it.
yeah, I have to watch it once a quarter. Just this is
Okay.
me reminding me, right? And so
Understood.
Captain Marvel, I wasn't familiar with it before, but in watching it, so basically she was a fighter pilot and like got shot down, and there was like some radioactive thing or whatever, and she got these superpowers. And this alien planet that she landed on or whatever, they found her, they took her in, and they taught her how to use the powers basically, right? Through training, but they were using her as a weapon against these individuals who they told her were the enemy,
Mm.
right? And so she
Got it.
spent most of her life using these superpowers against quote unquote the enemy as
Right.
a way of protecting herself until something happens, and then she realized that, oh wait, no, these people weren't the enemy, they were the good people, and she had to learn how to control that. And that's how I see it. It's almost like we come into this world with these unique superpowers, whatever they are, and depending on the environment that we're in, right, like we start to use them in a way or we don't use them until we're forced to have this like moment of reckoning and saying that, wait a minute, I have the superpower, I can use it for good. And for many of us, the good starts with us. If you think about and I'm going to throw out one more resource,
Love
Maslow's
it.
hierarchy of needs, right?
Mhm.
Like it starts with the basic needs. And again, this is conditioning that we're taught to live in our outer reality, but the body, the soul, the thing that is within us often gets neglected until we have a moment where we're like, wait a minute, something's here, and we go on that journey.
Right. Well, and I think especially as women, right, we're taught from very early on to take care of other people
Mm-hmm.
and are tend to be the caregivers of our families and the world and our neighbors. And so I think it's a real thing that to that reminder. And I loved how did you say it earlier? You didn't say you got off track. You used another word for it. And
I
I
regress.
you
Mhm.
regress,
Mhm.
right? And I think we all do, right? We've
Yeah.
talked about on the show multiple times. Like, we're not perfect by any means. And it's like, okay, so what happens when we had a potential guest that we can't wait to introduce you to in 2026. But, she said we walk around continually dehydrated,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of that, it dehydrated in multiple levels, not just
Physical.
physically.
Yeah, it was
She
like
said
physical,
physically,
intellectual.
emotionally, intellectually, right? And
Mhm.
so when we catch ourselves being dehydrated, and even as I say that word, I'm thirsty. So I'm like, oh, I need more water. Um, you know, if we've regressed or digressed or we're off the track, like the getting back on the track
Mhm.
and being gentle with ourselves, but as Shannon
Yeah.
likes to say, gentle but firm. Like, what are our non-negotiables
Yeah.
that we can focus those superpowers?
Yeah, and the non-negotiables is like when because we what we talk about is maintaining the wellness, right? Like I was really good with money, Sabine, and then was bailing an ex out. I went to Target, was supposed to get shoes. I spent $600, didn't buy a pair of shoes. What's going on? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and so I had to come back to being wiser. Um, and so what was my point? What was I gonna say earlier off what you said, Christine? Oh, it's the when people are asking for my time or people are asking for resources and I start getting anxious because I don't know what my schedule is, because I
Mhm.
don't know what where my numbers are and what I have to give or not give. That's when I realize, again, I'm only anxious because there's things I said I would do for myself that haven't been done, right? So now I feel like, well, I can't put that before me, but none of it's scheduled. So let's go ahead and schedule. Let's go ahead and plan it because when I keep the non-negotiables, then I feel better. I'm taken care of. I could take better care of them, and it keeps their space on the schedule because if I give too much to other people, I'll end up having to take back on the back end because now I
Mm-hmm.
have to take time from being sick or because I'm overextended or overwhelmed or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And so I even think of the non negotiables as um, gentle. You know what I mean? Like, that's a safe landing place for me. Like, it's mossy. It might have stone. It's a firm foundation, but it's mossy. It's
Mhm.
softer. It's softer. Anything came up for you with all of that, Sabine?
Yeah, absolutely. So to tie back into what you were talking about earlier about journaling and setting a
Yeah.
time, right? So
Mhm.
at the root of all of that is this is an opportunity for us, for you to learn self-trust,
Mhm.
right? And part of learning self-trust, or the foundation of learning self-trust, is that when we make commitments to ourselves, that
Mhm.
we keep those commitments. So
Yes.
we have to train our nervous system, especially if we grew up in spaces where there wasn't a lot of trust, or it was volatile, or whatever the case may be, where like
Mm,
some part of our psyche was just like, this isn't safe.
mhm.
It doesn't trust anything. Even if you're like, oh my gosh, I love him, or I trust him, or I love her and I trust her. If your nervous system hasn't registered that in its encoding, then it's always looking for danger, as much as intellectually you want to do that. And so the biggest thing, like, let's just say, let's use the journaling as a
Yes.
piece, right? I usually tell people commit for 90 days,
Mhm.
right? Depending on where they are, we might start at 30, but 90 days, they used to say like 20, it takes 21 days to create a habit, right?
Right.
I think it takes 21 days to register that this is a thing, but it really takes 90 days, at least 90 days, for something to become a habit. And so with anything, right, you're going to start with, okay, I'm going to make this 90-day commitment that I am going to journal, you know, maybe not the mornings. Maybe don't put such a, especially if you're having trouble with it and you're
Mm,
trying to change a paradigm, right? Like,
mm,
don't put such a hard, it has to be in the morning. 90 days, I'm going to journal before the end of the day.
mm,
And you maintain that commitment to yourself. It goes on your checklist, it goes on your calendar, something in your face, right? When
mm,
you do that, and it may sound small, but
mm,
you have built and you've encoded enough in your nervous system so that it says, oh, she said she was going to do something and she did it. I can trust her. I can
mm,
relax here. And then here comes the next time when someone is demanding more of your time than you have to give, right? There might be a part of you that's just like, oh, maybe I should. But then because you've already done it through the journaling, which might seem like it's a completely separate thing, your nervous system is going to support you and say, actually, no, we don't have capacity for that.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
get it.
not going to do it. Right. And so
Mm,
this is how we start to retrain or reprogram our minds, our bodies, our emotions to do things differently. By, if I say I'm going to the grocery store today, or if I make a list, and this is the last thing I'll say on this,
mm,
we don't realize that we're creating. When we speak, we're creating. When we
mm,
write down, we're
Mhm.
creating. Even if we're
mhm,
making a grocery list, that is the start of creation, right?
mm,
So little things, when you're like, oh, I'm going to go get a pedicure today, I'm going to go to the gym today, or I'm going to do this today, and then you don't do it, that
mhm.
is a ding in that
Mhm.
self-trust building
Mhm.
that you may not think is a big deal. But when it shows up in that big, opportunity that doesn't work out, or, there's friction in something, that seed started when you didn't apply that commitment to yourself.
Right. And I love how you said that. And that's why we talk about maintaining our wellness and what are we actually doing, right? So we do this every week, focusing on the dimension of wellness that we're talking about. We're talking about environmental wellness. Sabine, what are you doing for yourself, for your wisdom and action around environmental wellness this week?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the outside and then I'll talk about the inside. So for me, I live here in San Diego, and so I've committed to taking these walks in the morning, and
Mm.
not just taking these walks. I take these power walks. I'm at the age of power walking now.
Mm,
But anyways,
I love it.
I'm taking the power walks. I'm taking deep breaths, and I'm paying attention. There's so much foliage around me. I grew up in the Northeast, so I don't see the beautiful foliage anymore. But still, there's plants all around me. There's all different types of things, and I feel like every week I notice something different, right? Or
yeah.
every few days I'll notice a plant that I didn't notice before, or I'll notice a tree that I didn't notice before. And so that, for me, that is part of being present in the
Mhm.
moment, and then just taking in the beauty that is life.
Yeah.
And when I also think about environmentally, it's just like, what am I taking in, or what am I allowing in my space? I am very firmly setting boundaries with myself and with others that I'm checking in, and I literally have a list of the Maslow's needs across from me here, that I will check in, like, what are my needs right now? And where do I feel like someone isn't meeting my needs, so that I can either have that conversation, or if I need to separate, then we're separating. Where I'm drawing that boundary, whether that's, physical separation, emotional separation, whatever that is.
Understood.
Beautiful.
Great
And
job.
Shannon, help me with our friend's name, because I think Sabine would love the resource
From
of the
Claire
universal needs.
Brumwell.
Claire and
Brumwell. I don't remember her partner's name in the work, and they might have updated the agency. It might just be Claire now, but that could be a completely different business. But I'm
it's
almost
called
positive.
Universal Needs. I'm trying to think about what podcast we had. She has a beef with Maslow. And part of the beef is that he was studying, I think it was the Iroquois Nation, and stole their work. And so she has expanded on Maslow hierarchy of needs to incorporate some more needs and universal needs. And I think you would love her work in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, I recently learned about that, and then I also learned that it wasn't necessarily a pyramid; that it was originally just almost like the stages of grief, right? Like it wasn't linear.
More of a
like
spiral, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It is so wild. The more we learn, right? And it doesn't discount that it's important information, because I firmly believe that it is, and I love that you're doing that. Shannon, what are you doing this week for your wisdom in action?
I love the morning power walks. I hear you taking in the beauty. Mine is, and I have definitely been doing that too. What I will still say though is taking big breaths. Because I found, Sabine, we're talking about 500 companies, startups, all these different places. A lot of the systems can still use more room for the people and more room for a little bit of pause. So when I go into these different environments, when I build my system and how I work with my team, I usually build that in for myself. And as I've worked through like the change in logistics, it's like you can breathe. So big breaths. Yeah. What about you,
Love that.
Christine?
Well, my wisdom in action this week is centered around the retreat. So I think it's just going to be #retreat. It's going to be an environment of rest and community and building and art, and just taking a pause to process some big stuff. I'm doing a retreat, Sabine, with one of my co-authors, Dr. Sheila K. Collins, with her new book, The Art of Grieving. How art and art making can help us grieve and live our best lives. And I'm here doing a little interplay with her and having a good time. So I think that's mine, would be #retreat and #interplay. So two of my favorite things.
Yes. And I'm glad you have them in your life. Yeah, in your life, in your
Right?
life. Yes. Well, Sheila's too, your lives. Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, Sabine, thank you so much for joining us today. I
Thank
feel
you for
like,
having me.
of course, and we always say this, like we could keep having this conversation. When I think about the 8 dimensions of wellness, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, universal, needs in general, I think about us owning our power. So thank you so much for everything you shared, for your time and the work that you do in the world.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
of course. Looking forward to staying connected.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
hmm
How you feeling about episode 202?
I feel great. I feel like that there was extra energy, right? There's all this energy around episode 200. What are we gonna do? Inviting everybody, and now it's like, oh, we're over 200, and so now it's like back to normal podcasting. Today is the first day of that.
I love it. I
Uh,
love it.
what
What a
about you?
great guest to kick it off with,
I
too.
know, I know. I
And I
own
wanted
the
to
power.
keep talking. I know we're going a little
I
short
know,
today
I know.
because I'm traveling,
Got a
but
party to go to.
I want to have a further conversation, and I may want to invite
Uh,
Sabine back to
okay.
talk about, because I wanted to talk and we ran out of time, but about folks on the spectrum. And a lot of my clients who are ADD or ADHD, right? Habit building is really a struggle. because of their neurodiversity and neurospiciness. So, talking about that. So, before we close, I just want to give a shout out to some of my folks that listen, knowing that even if you can't make it 90 days, like
Yeah.
do what you can and keep trying.
Yeah.
So,
I love
I
that.
think that's fun. But anything else we want to
Yeah.
shout out before we close it out?
Yes, I know you guys love reaching out to our guests and getting in contact with their resources, their pages, and where to find them. So please know, as always, we will put her information in the show notes so that you can reach out to Sabine. I know we usually I said something different, Sabine, instead of giving you the opportunity to say that. So I'm sorry, but I want the listeners to know and you to know. Of course, we'll plug that information. Make sure you guys have everything you need. And y'all, if you haven't already, follow us on Amazon. I know we usually say YouTube, right? So if you haven't subscribed there, subscribe there. But follow us on Amazon because we have the audiobook for volume 2 coming out. And I'm excited about the backdrop of where we are in the world and these stories that you get to listen to. So
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been waiting. They're getting ready to come out. Go follow us so that you'll get the updates and we'll keep you posted as everything progresses.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have
All
anything
right,
else?
friends. I
All right.
am so grateful to be in connection as always.
Yes. All right, y'all. See you live at 5 for episode 203 next week. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole.